Hello. So let's start Unit 3. This is Level 4, page 21 in your textbook. So you can look at the information on the top, which is an overview of what we'll be studying in the lesson. And then here are some questions to consider before you start the lesson. So thinking about your own culture, what is a typical dish or drink in your culture? A type of music or dance? An important symbol, festival, typical in your country, a certain style of dress, and then number 6 is handicraft. So you can see here this example of handicraft, usually things that are made by hand and particular to a certain culture. And when you're ready, let's go to page 22. And here, these are people talking about their culture. So take a moment to read, and then we'll listen to these people talking about their culture.
Page 22, Unit 3, World Cultures. Lesson A, Traditional Things. 1. Getting started. B. Listen. What aspect of their country's culture does each person talk about?
What not to miss. We asked people, what's one thing you shouldn't miss on a visit to South Korea, Minhee Park?
Oh, Korean food! We have so many different dishes. One typical dish is kimbap. It's made with rice and vegetables and wrapped in dried seaweed. And it's eaten cold. It's delicious.
Peru, Elena Camacho.
Well, Peru has some beautiful handicrafts. A lot of them are exported nowadays, and they're sold all over the world. But it's still worth visiting a local market. These earrings are made locally. They're made of silver.
Japan, Sachio Ito.
A Japanese festival, like the Sapporo Ice Festival, that's really worth seeing. It's held every February. They have all these sculptures that are carved out of ice, and they're carved by teams from all over the world. It's amazing.
Australia, Robert Flynn.
Oh, you should go to a performance of traditional Aboriginal music. They play this instrument. It's called a didgeridoo. It's made out of a hollow piece of wood and painted by hand. It makes a really interesting sound.
Okay, so I believe all of these readings are, I don't know that you would have any questions. If you do have questions, let me know. Underneath is a practice. So you can look in the reading to find clues for how to finish these sentences. So take a moment to write in your answers, and then please pause the video, and when you're ready, we'll check. Okay, so let's check your answers. Here, kimbap, you'll say is eaten cold. And then number 2, earrings like these are made locally. A lot of handicrafts are exported. And then number 4, the sculptures are made by teams from all over the world. Okay, so let's go to the next page. And these forms that you just entered in that exercise is the passive voice. And this unit or this lesson practices the simple present passive. So simple passive is made with two parts. You need some form of be and then the past participle. You can see here when I'm talking about, or when I'm using active voice, I have this subject, they. But the word they doesn't really give me a lot of information. I know that people make food. So when I put it in passive voice, the doer of the action is not important, or it's obvious and doesn't need to be stated. And the focus is on the object. So you'll see passive voice used a lot to describe how things are made. Um, or here eaten. I know people eat the food. I don't have to say people eat it hot. I can use passive voice and say, is it eaten hot or cold? If you want to add who does the action, you can do that with what is called a by phrase. So when discussing the ice sculptures, here the focus is on sculptures. I use passive voice, but then I can say who makes the sculptures by adding this by phrase. And here in this little box to keep in mind that made, done, and called are the most common verbs that are used in passive voice. So make sure that when you use passive, you must have those two parts. You need be, a form of be, and simple passive. If you don't have this form of be, what you're doing is using past tense, but then this doesn't make any sense, right? The sculptures carved, the meaning changes. I'm saying the sculptures did the carving, which is not correct. It's people who carve the statues. So just remember, passive voice, you always need some form of be. So when you're ready, here are sentences. I'm sorry, these are questions about a country. All of these are written in active voice. Please take a moment to pause the video, and in your notebook or textbook, you will write these questions using passive voice. Okay, so let's take a look at your answers. That's the wrong one. Okay, so let's check your answers. I typed up these questions in a separate document. So this is what you should have. One thing to keep in mind with passive voice is that the verb is agreeing with whatever comes after it, because this is question form. So the subject is coming after the verb. So just make sure here festivals is plural. So you should have are. Same with handicrafts. The form of be should be are. And then here you can see this sentence or question has a by phrase. The question won't make sense unless you add this phrase, because usually the verb celebrate needs a doer. So just keep in mind that when you're switching from active to passive, it's important to keep the meaning the same. Okay, so let's continue in the textbook. This next practice is speaking. So here in the video, I will play the listening. So these words, you can see that the unstressed vowel is not pronounced. So please listen to how these words in the box are spoken.
Page 23. 3. Speaking naturally. Silent syllables. A. Listen and repeat the words. Notice that the unstressed vowels are not pronounced.
Every,
different,
Interesting.
vegetable,
Okay, so let's listen to these sentences. Some words are underlined. That means that there is an unstressed syllable that is not pronounced. So listen as many times as you need to. I'll only play the listening once, but please rewind the video if you would like to hear again. And as you listen, the syllables that are not pronounced, just cross them out in your book.
Page 23. 3. Speaking naturally. Silent syllables. B. Listen to people talk about their cities. Cross out the vowel that is not pronounced in the underlined words. Then read the sentences to a partner. 1. Brock, Switzerland.
We're known for our chocolate, which is sold all over the world. If you're really interested, you can visit a factory to learn about the history of chocolate and how it's made.
2. Coober Pedy, Australia.
The average temperature here in summer is almost 40 degrees Celsius, so it's much cooler to live underground. It's definitely something different for travelers.
3. Akihabara, Japan.
If you want a camera, then you have to shop here. Practically every brand of electronic and computer goods is displayed here.
4. Boyacá, Colombia.
Emeralds are mined all over the world, but our region has some of the best and most valuable stones. They are mostly exported and made into jewelry.
All right, so if you need to listen again, please rewind and listen again. And when you're ready, let's check your answers. So for number 1, this O is not pronounced, and this first E is not pronounced. The O here is not pronounced, and again, chocolate, that second O, is not pronounced. Here, number 2, average, this E is silent. Temperature, again, this E silent. Different, cross out the first E. And again, in travelers, cross out that first E. The word camera, you don't say the E. Practically, the A is not pronounced. And then every, the second E is silent. And then finally, emeralds, the second E is not pronounced. Valuable, this A is not pronounced, sorry. Make sure it's the A that you cross out. And then jewelry, this E is not pronounced. Okay, so if you have trouble hearing that, please listen again until you're able to hear how some of those syllables are not pronounced. Okay, so that's all we have for this lesson. And again, please make note of any questions you have, especially about passive voice, so that we can talk about them during the Zoom meeting. Hope you have a good day. See you soon. Bye-bye.